Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to a special current events edition of Wrestling Insiders, the podcast version. I'm Dan Mirade, along with Mr. Southwestern Connecticut himself, Matt Degnan, a man almost needed a Mead notebook to fill all of the highlights and lowlights from this week's September 28th, 2020, Monday Night Raw from Wwe Arena in Orlando, Florida, under the Thunderdome. 24 hours removed from what I thought was a outstanding Clash of the Champions pay-per-view that we live streamed along with your new friend Dave Carter on Sunday night.
Yeah, that was a good little show, even though we didn't know we were off the air at the right time. But good show on Sunday. And then, as I said, I believe to close the show, WWE needs to keep up that momentum on Sunday.
Keep the momentum going.
And I really didn't think they did it going into last night. Somehow this Raw was better than last week, and that shows how bad the one last Monday was. But this one tonight last night wasn't really that good, I guess you could say.
That's generous.
That's generous.
Being very generous, in my opinion, but we'll go through it segment by segment.
Here we go. Blast off. Ric Flair, Christian, Big Show, Shawn Michaels, and WWE Champion Drew McIntyre kicked off Raw last night. All of them have been involved with Randy Orton over the past few months, and all showed up Sunday at Clash of Champions to take out Orton, getting some retribution. To me, it felt a little too sappy, the way they were kind of talking about each other and kissing each other's ass. There's a unique moment between these five guys who have never shared a ring together before at one time.
Yeah, they did become buddy awfully quick.
It just right when it started, it was just they're kissing each other's ass, and I thought for one second they were going to start kissing each other, but I don't know.
There was no Lanny Poffo treatment.
No, well, He does that to himself, not others.
Right.
Randy then interrupted on the Titantron and claimed he is not done.
Or is it the Thundertron?
We can call it the Thundertron.
Is it I don't know. Is it the Thundertron now?
I don't think so.
All right.
I mean,
we'll go with Titantron. We'll go with Titantron.
And claimed he is not done with Drew until he is WWE champion. Obviously, they've been set, as I said a couple times, they've been set for a Hell in a Cell match for a little while now. McIntyre then issued an open challenge for later that night for the WWE title. What did you think of the opening segment? I thought I could have done without the ass kissing and the hugging and the shaking hands and,
That part was a little campy. I like how Orton foreshadowed, I think, what is to come later in the month when he used the word hell a few times in the promo.
Or next month.
That was good. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's not October yet. I'm very tired, believe me, as you're going to hear through my notes. The Dan Mirade experience up on Old Mirade Hill watching this week's Raw, but it was what it was. I knew people were going to be in for a disappointment when they threw that open challenge terminology around. I didn't realize how disappointed, but we'll get there at that point. Continue, sir, with this big Raw.
And then the next segment, what did I say? They're going to do more rematches from Clash of Champions. We saw Asuka defeat Selena Vega to retain her Raw Women's title. A match that really didn't need to be done. Just why? I mean, I know the reason, just to fill time because, what else? Do you have anything to add to that battle for the women's title?
I'll say this. I thought Zelina Vega's promo in the back with that robot that interviewed her was pretty good. I think Zelina has a very believable delivery, and I think she speaks well. And then you have Asuka, who's the best female wrestler in the company, get involved in this promo, and she starts to scream like an idiot, which takes away her credibility as a champion. As far as the match itself goes, I thought Zelina looked very green, even compared to the pay-per-view the night before, almost like bad Bobby Moylan's meat down at Foodmaster in Melrose back in the late 90s, but that's a different story for a different time. I think if they want to get to the point where they want Zelina to be a full-time wrestler, she is someone that would benefit from a full-time house show schedule if that ever comes to be again, where she's, in the ring working 3 or 4 times a week. There's certain things you can get out of training at a performance center but that you're not going to get when you're out on the road working in front of live people. It wasn't a very good match.
No. And having seen it 2 times in less than 24 hours didn't help either. Then the next segment, Andrade cut a promo and issued another open challenge.
Lots of those open challenges.
In this Monday Night Raw. Keith Lee then answered and beat him in a match that was, I believe, less than 5 minutes. Or
it was under 3.
I consider the entrances as part of the segment.
I only go bell to bell.
Oh, well, bell to bell, it was only about 3 minutes. But which this is something I believe could have been built up and not just a random open challenge on Raw. These are 2 good guys that I like, and I know you like both of them. And it's just, you're going to have Andrade come out. You know, he said something to Selena Vega, you know, you're nothing without me too, or something like that, yelling at her after she just lost again. It's something you can build up. I mean, not right away, but, you know, do it in the future. Don't just have it as a random open challenge and then have him beat Andrade in a few minutes. You know what I mean? I'm sure you...
you know, I thought it was a nice attempt to have Andrade come out and shoot on Selena. I think the only problem was no one understood anything that Andrade was trying to say.
That's what I'm saying. He was just yelling at her.
He was screaming at her in some mixed version of English and Spanish, and I didn't understand either one of them. So I think that continues to be Andrade's problem when it comes to him being a potential top-of-the-card main event heel. He either needs someone to talk for him, or he just needs to learn how to talk.
Especially now without Vega. He has no mouthpiece anymore.
Yeah.
So it makes it even worse. Then he's going to yell at her. I'm sure it made her night a little worse.
He was saying something very fierce. I just have no idea what it was.
Get the Google Translator out.
Then Keith came out looking rather large and
in charge.
I just, again, the more I see of him, the way he's presented right now, the less I want to see of him. I'm less impressed with each outing. He looks terrible. I don't know why they want to put him in a singlet and take away from the, I don't know if physique is the right word, but to take away from his physical impressiveness as a rather large man that can move. I think they ruined that by putting him in a singlet. And then, again, he squashes Andrade in less than 3 minutes. To me, it was just a complete and utter waste of time. Andrade looked bad. Keith Lee didn't look good. What was the point?
Yeah, and at that point, I kind of lost all hope for the show. I mean, I really didn't start with any, but at that point, I lost any that I had.
Yeah.
And then this next segment really took me out. The 24/7 title segment backstage showed R-Truth reading a letter from Akira Tozawa saying he was eaten by a shark, and which was given to him by another ninja. Tozawa, this is where it gets very confusing. Tozawa then pinned R-Truth from behind and won the title. Then Drew Gulak won the title from Tozawa after he pinned him. Then R-Truth pinned Gulak for the title. And then a triple threat was announced between the three for later in the night. So why did you need to do that segment and then announce a triple threat? I don't know. You could have done without the triple threat at the segment. You could have done without all of it.
You could have done without it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
And maybe given Andrade and Keith Lee another 6 minutes. But, you know, why actually put on a match that someone may have an interest in when you can have this 24/7 championship nonsense with ninjas running around in the background?
I think this segment was longer than that match.
Probably.
Oh, it's just so stupid. And then after this, the Mysterio family were guests on the King's Court with Jerry the King Lawler.
Jerry was getting a little excited with Ray's daughter on the set.
She's a little old for him.
A little old for him, yeah. But, you know, still potential.
Yeah. This Rollins Mysterio stuff has been going on for way too long.
And it's not any good. If it was good, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it's atrocious.
And I don't think I cared in the first place about it, let alone 6 months later. WWE seems to be teasing a love story between Buddy Murphy, who I think is 30, I don't know how old he is, but I know he's in his 30s, and Ray's daughter, Aaliyah, who is 19, which I might have the hots for her. Seth Rollins interrupts the segment on the Titantron or Thundertron, whatever you want to call it, and says Aaliyah has been talking to Murphy and she lied about how she felt about him. Seth then showed the direct messages between her and Murphy.
Somehow, not only was he able to steal Murphy's phone, potentially enter his password, but get the screenshots into WWE's production truck to put it on the Titantron. I was very impressed with Seth's technological ability to do that.
Maybe he should be a producer.
Yeah, and we could use him at the studio the night of the watch-alongs.
Shoot him a text.
Shoot him a text.
Murphy and Rollins are shown having more tension backstage. This is where I just paused it and started thinking for a good minute or two. They then showed Murphy being attacked by Dominic, but they never showed Dominic getting out of the ring. It was a mistake by them. They showed Ray and Angie getting out of the ring with Aaliyah, but the way they cut to backstage, Dominic was still in the ring. So they cut from Dominic standing in the ring to Murphy and Seth Rollins arguing backstage, and Dominic coming out of nowhere to beat up Murphy.
Maybe he ran quick.
I don't know. He was still standing there with Jerry, probably talking about the same girls that they date or something. I don't know.
It was just, the one thing that comes away from all this complete and utter waste of time that I have no interest in is, why the fuck would Rey Mysterio keep bringing his family to the TV tapings every week? Why? It makes no sense.
And they don't have contracts.
Zilch. Nada.
They don't have contracts, so it's not like they're obligated to be there.
I'm waiting for Angie Mysterio to be a member of Retribution or something. Why does he bring his family to these shows for no reason whatsoever? It's just another one of those details that makes you want to change the channel because it's just stupid.
Well,
There's no thought put into the backstory to it as to why this man is bringing his family to these arenas to be around the supposed dangerous Monday Night Messiah and his little lackey Murphy. If that was potentially my family that was going to be in danger by bringing them to a professional wrestling show every Monday night, my solution would be to keep them at home.
Yeah, it's just really no.
Well, there you go.
It's just you really don't need to bring them. I don't want to. I was trying to rephrase what you said, but basically the same thoughts. Maybe we get a mixed tag match: Rey Mysterio and Angie versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch.
No. I think Angie's childbearing days have come to an end. I don't know.
Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke defeated Lana and Natalia.
And I'm going to tell you this. My big note from this one, I fell asleep. Because I honestly did. Once they brought Dana Brooke in from the big trade to Raw for no one to show how much value.
But they didn't even announce her as.
How much value Dana Brooke had to SmackDown. She was traded for absolutely no one.
Well, they'll probably announce some trade in or something. Someone's randomly going to show up on SmackDown on Friday night, and they're going to be like, "Oh, this must be part of the trade."
Even though the draft is in a couple of weeks, they needed to do a trade now.
Yeah,
but I did. I have had so many productions and so much talking and so much editing. I actually fell asleep at that point. I was so bored, and I had to go back and watch the rest of it on DVR from what I missed between when I fell asleep and when I woke up.
I just don't care. If you're going to have a draft next week, why bring Dana Brooke over now? What are you going to get, 2 episodes out of her?
No, they were just desperate for women, I guess.
But then the next one, Kevin Owens and Aleister Black.
You didn't even talk about the match. We had all 4 blondes that wore pink, which was another thing that made. That's one. Costuming is one thing that WWE rarely does wrong, but I couldn't believe they had 4 blonde women all wearing almost identical outfits. It was like the Rockettes in a Thunderdome.
That one I DVR'd through.
All right. Well, I'm not going to knock you too much on that.
It was just, what's really going to go on in that match? You knew who was going to win, you know?
And it was longer than Andrade and Keith Lee.
Yeah. What possibly could come out of that match that's newsworthy for us to talk about? Lana getting put through the announce table again, you know? Kevin Owens and Aleister Black ended in a DQ, or disqualification, after Black accidentally hit the ref, even though he looked right at him when he hit him with his elbow while trying to hit Owens. Aleister Black, as people notice, he has new ring gear, which I don't like, and new theme music, which I also don't like, but they've been trying to get rid of the CFO $, however you want to, CFOs or whatever, the theme songs, which they don't work with them anymore, so they're trying to get rid of all the theme songs that they produced a couple years ago. What did you think of this match that we've seen for 2-3 weeks in a row now, ending in disqualification?
And then the Mirade notes, Aleister Black has gone from someone that was instantly over on the main brand and treated as something special to someone just as bland and uninteresting as the majority of the rest of the roster. They killed him bringing him up too early in 2019 when they had no ideas for him, but they just wanted some fresh blood. They've had him hide in closet for weeks on end. He has random matches when someone knocks at his door. Then he goes back in his closet. Now he almost looks like this quasi-pirate that should have been getting ready for WrestleMania 36 down in Tampa with Richie Myers. And, I mean, nobody cares at this point about Aleister Black, which is a shame. The Aleister Black-Kevin Owens match was fine, but there was just zero reason to care or have any interest in it. I just thought the presentation was flat-out boring, even if both of them tried hard.
He lost any cachet he had, a year. He was as we've said before, he was undefeated for like a year, and
he was over.
Yeah,
he was over strong, and now nobody cares.
What else is new? You could say that about dozens of other people on the WWE roster.
We'll have to see what Nancy thinks about Aleister Black when we have her on the show.
Yeah. R-Truth defeated Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa to retain the 24/7 title. And your good friend John Candy was reffing the match. And did you see her little mess up?
No, I guess I wasn't watching closely enough. Believe it or not.
Drew Gulak went to go throw Akira Tozawa out of the ring, and she walked right into him as he was getting thrown out. And he got lightly thrown into her back, and she sold it like she just got power bombed.
Well, I mean, I said a lot about that Sunday night. She should be limited to the women's matches. Having her in there with the men, it takes away from the element of danger and suspense and violence. A man should not be putting their hand on a woman. Whether she looks like John Candy or not, it's a different story for a different time.
And she did the women's title match earlier in the night, too.
That's good. Maybe she could add a few items to her Amazon wish list for the complete sad fans of WWE that buy her such free gifts on Amazon.
I would not. Then in the next match, Buddy Murphy defeated Dominic Mysterio via roll-up after Dominic was distracted by his sister Aaliyah. Again, something I think they've wrestled. I saw someone tweeted out they've wrestled, I think, 5 times in the past not even 2 months. And Aaliyah slapped Dominic after the match after they got into an argument at ringside. Something I've noticed over the past week or two is they're starting to do more of that. They're not giving them a mic in their hands, but they're having them kind of talk to each other without the mic. Not just them in particular, but a lot of the superstars. Like, remember in the Roman match?
We did mention that during the watch-along, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because
in reality,
there's no one there to talk over them. I think it makes it a little more realistic.
Yeah, I'm just saying I've noticed it in the past few weeks of just them having, like, basic conversations without a mic. Because, not every conversation in WWE needs to have a mic in their hand. Just for a common sense type of thing. Anything about this Murphy and Mysterio match?
It's just the Dominic experiment is over, and I don't mean that it's over to the fans. I mean that it's point blank done. He looks out of place at this point, as all of the Mysterio family does. Murphy hasn't beaten anyone in forever, so that's a telling sign of where Dominic stands on the food chain right now. I'd sign Dominic to a developmental deal, send him to the Performance Center to learn how to work a WWE style, and then put him on the road and learn how to work instead of putting him in these televised matches where he's just memorizing spots over and over again. Having the sister involved, arguing with him, I mean, the fans have no attachment to Dominic, never mind to her. It was just another complete waste of time.
The thing is, it's going to be, for the fans, you know, they've already seen him so many times, and he's already done, I'm not saying this with positive, I'm saying it negative, with battles with Rollins and Murphy. Then he's going to go down to NXT and struggle there, storyline-wise, I'm saying. So he's going to have all this showcase on the main roster.
Even if they don't use him on NXT TV, just to get him to learn how to work more.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done well performing the spots and such, but as far as learning how to work with a variety of different opponents, different length matches, and so on and so forth, I think that would be his best bet long term. I think if you keep doing it the way it's going to go right now, he's going to turn into just a fad, and eventually it's going to die off, which would be a shame because he does show some potential. It's just he's being overpushed and shoved down people's throats to the point where they don't care anymore. Okay. In my opinion.
In your opinion. We'll go into the next opinion. Mustafa Ali, Apollo Crews, and Ricochet defeated the Hurt Business. What did you think of that six-man tag?
Well, I actually woke up during this match. My first note back live was Mustafa Ali surprise pin on MVP. You know, if anyone's going to lose in that group, it should be MVP. I thought that was fine. The Hurt Business, other than that, shouldn't be selling for anybody. I don't know where Cedric was, if he's under quarantine or what might be going on with him. But, you know, Apollo, Mustafa, Ricochet, they all could benefit from actually picking up wins over somebody to make them a threat in a wrestling match. And I thought the match was pretty good. Retribution somehow magically took over the production truck and had the logo appear all over the Thunderdome, which at least spared us a boring promo where they didn't have much to say, and what they do say has no common sense. It was a pretty good finish, and it was also very, 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 very smart not to have Lashley or Shelton take the pin in that instance.
Yeah, but Retribution, I have it in my notes section, but since you brought it up, they're under quarantine because they came in contact with someone with COVID.
Good.
So they're going to be out for about 2 or 3 weeks.
They need to keep running into people with COVID, and then maybe we won't have to see it again.
Then in the next segment, I thought was very stupid. Bianca Belair beating some random people in a track race. It's just a bunch of random people. She beat them. One person walked off angry that they lost.
Upset.
Why were they at this track? 2, who were these people? 3, why were they doing it? And 4, why? Just why? Well, and, you know.
I thought it was a great way to have a promo to introduce a new character. The only problem is she's been on television for 6 months. So
in limited fashion.
In limited fashion, yes, but usually those vignettes work good to try and introduce someone new before they actually debut on TV. She's been she's been shown to be uninteresting, nobody cares, and now in the middle of the summer, they have her racing people that have nothing to do with WWE at some random track in Florida.
It's just, if you're going to introduce her, make it something that people can understand and care about. They're just showing her running on a track against just nobodies. I could see if you got some people that look like athletes and like they could actually run than people who just go for jogs after
Maybe they
work.
could have put Nia Jax down there where she was off this week.
She could have lapped her a couple times, but I just thought it was stupid if you're going to introduce someone. I get what they're trying to do, but it's not working.
Well, I actually came up with I think a better gimmick for her. Instead of EST, I'd change it to BYE, but that's just me, I guess.
What's BYE?
Bye.
Oh, geez. Oh, well. Speaking of bye, here's someone that said hi. Drew McIntyre defeated Robert Roode, who came back.
Someone that could have said stayed by, but that's all right. We missed his robes.
This was the open challenge that McIntyre offered to anybody in the back. He hadn't faced for his WWE title yet. So he retained his title in the main event against someone who's not locked up anymore in Canada. What'd you think of Robert Roode coming back?
I had about as much interest in seeing Robert Roode as I probably did the EST racetrack promo before. I mean, who would take Robert Roode with any credibility? When was the last time Robert Roode won a match of any importance? When was the last time Robert Roode won a match? I don't know. Last thing I remember about Robert Roode was that he was suspended for 30 days for failing some form of a supplement or a drug test, not to knock the poor guy. But, I mean, just what a disappointment of a main event if you were actually looking forward to seeing someone of interest take on Drew McIntyre for the title, and then he comes out spinning with one of his beautiful robes. I don't think any human being on the face of the planet considered Robert Roode a threat to win any match on that show. Never mind beat McIntyre in the title match. I can't imagine how many people changed the channel at that point that was still sitting through this horrible show to the football game that was on ESPN. But that's just me.
They actually faced each other NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2017.
It was unbelievable then, too.
In 2017. I'll tell you, that match was a lot better than the one they had last night.
Well,
but
hopefully he had on a different robe.
And then to end the show, Randy Orton took out Big Show, Christian, Ric Flair, and Shawn Michaels to close out the show. Orton was dressed up as a janitor and snuck into their little party they were having all night, that they were showing little, cuts of them, hanging out with the Street Profits. And
that was the most fun part of the show. I wanted to go play cards with them.
You could have done 3 hours of that, and that would have been better than what the hell they were putting on.
I would have loved to have listened to Flair and Shawn Michaels tell their stories for 3 hours playing cards than the majority of the show that was on. But
what'd you think of Randy dressing up as a janitor?
I thought he took those glasses from Elton John for a minute. I didn't realize they were supposed to be night vision.
Right?
Yeah, night vision.
No, they weren't.
They were night vision.
They were welding glasses.
So why did he put them on?
They were trying to, I guess, goof the fans. But if you look up, I believe I think it was Miller welding glasses. If you look that up on Google, that's what pops up is those glasses. And it's a 2-piece set. You get the glasses and some other face mask. But he was wearing the goggles without that little face mask part.
Oh, I was under the impression that he was shutting off the lights to attack them.
Oh, no, that's what they were.
So they couldn't see him. And that way he could lay everybody out without any of them having any physical contact with him in reality. And I thought that was actually kind of creative. It
was creative, but it was actually welding glasses instead of.
Well, I'm not much of a welder, believe it or not. So that was over my head.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I haven't done much welding.
No. As we try to weld together this awful show, what was your grade for Raw?
Let's hear yours.
I had 2 out of 10. I had it at 3, but then usually when we start talking about it and breaking it down, I usually end up hating it even more.
You know who just sent me a Facebook message, not to interrupt you, was Maria Davis. Popped up on my phone.
She'll probably send me an Instagram message.
A good, close personal friend on Instagram. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's finest. Miss Maria Davis. Ms., maybe we should call her. I don't know if she is a Mrs., so we'll go with Ms. We'll treat Maria with the respect she deserves. And I'll tell you this, our good friend Tina/Smokey corrected me because for some reason, for many, many weeks now, instead of Smokey, I've been calling her Stony. And I don't know if it's because the days are long or I don't know. But she is officially back to being her official username in our live chats, which is Smokey. So, Smokey, if you're listening tonight, baby, we want the smoke.
So do the Raw Tag Team Champions. But I gave it a 2 out of 10. I had it at a 3. Then usually when we start talking about it, I don't like it as much as I did when I watched it about a couple hours ago. What did you give it?
I actually put the grade down on paper, so I really shouldn't change it. So I had it as a 3. I liked the idea of Randy Orton's revenge. I thought the Legends Lounge was kind of amusing for what it was. Other than the women's tag team match, none of the wrestling was really horrid. There wasn't anything that was just any good. The pace wasn't all that bad. It was just that the presentation sucked and was lifeless. So that was my thought on the big hour presentation from the Thunderdome this week.
The matches I wanted to go longer were shorter. The matches that were longer, there was no flow to the show. Nothing really made sense in particular. The only good thing was the end with Orton. You know, I would have liked the opening segment if they didn't kiss each other's asses, but you know,
it's sad that I think you said you gave it a 2, and I just gave it a 3, and we still gave it higher ratings than last week's episode got. So I guess they could only improve. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the pay-per-view the night before. If folks did not watch Clash of the Champions, I highly suggest it. I thought it was one of the better pay-per-views this year. I don't know if it was because I looked at it even better because of the lack of women's matches that were on the show that people really didn't have much interest in, but the big matches that they pushed, whether it be the ladder match, the ambulance match, and especially the outstanding Roman Reigns Jey Uso match, I just thought that was maybe the best pay-per-view this year. I really enjoyed Clash of Champions. I was hoping for a similar follow-up on Raw, and I was disappointed.
Yeah. What do you think the viewership was, as you guess?
Oh, boy. Monday Night Football. That was a big game with the Kansas City. 1.6.
1,822,000.
Wow. All right. Well, you know what? For whatever the reason, they captured more of an audience than I would have expected. I would have loved to have known what the number was until Bobby Roode came out as the surprise opponent for Drew McIntyre for the championship. I was texting with your buddy Little Cena, and I said, this reminds me of, if you go back on WWE Network, the month before WrestleMania 14, which was right here in Boston, they did, I think it was a big 10-man tag team. Before it was called just No Way Out. This one was called No Way Out of Texas. And when Shawn Michaels was injured, to keep him away from ring action before WrestleMania, that version of DX promised a mystery tag team partner that night. This was back during the Monday Night Wars, so people were abuzz. Could it be someone from WCW? Could it be someone from ECW? And it wound up being Savio Vega, which was one of the great letdowns in WWE pay-per-view surprise main event history. Nothing that there was anything wrong with Savio. Savio was great in his role, but certainly to be put in a pay-per-view main event the month before WrestleMania, trying to build up the big angles, with the Austin and DX types, that was just a tad bit of a letdown.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. Probably the same feeling when we saw the spotlight come on and Bobby started spinning.
And the glorious.
It was glorious when 11 o'clock hit my cable box and the show came to an end. And Al Bundy popped up on the screen. Yep.
Now into the news and notes section.
All right, I'm ready for some news and notes. What do we got?
Just a few, and they all have to do with COVID, which is funny. Raw Underground was scrapped this week because of the outbreak of COVID in NXT and the Performance Center. They deemed the segments as not necessary to the show.
Yes.
So they did not shoot any segments before Raw.
Good. I thought the great idea I had was that they could have had Retribution run in during Raw Underground, and they all could have battled. And then they could have found the bomb that blew up Vince McMahon's limo in 2007. And just
wait a minute. He's had enough.
Just done away with all of them. Retribution, Raw Underground, and Vince's limo, all in one segment.
Well, what if Shane's had enough of them?
He would have survived. He is Stone Cold Shane O'Mac. He would have survived. He would have been a little cut. He would have been a little bruised. He would have been a little dirty. But even if everybody else at Raw Underground and Retribution died from the bomb going off, Stone Cold's hand would have risen, almost like The Undertaker in a Buried Alive match. Ready to fight another day.
Yeah. And then the last one I have here is a handful of referees for WWE are in quarantine because of COVID as well. Some might have it. Some might come in contact with someone. WWE isn't very vague about the COVID stuff. That's why you had John Candy, the referee, on Raw last night. And you had that NXT referee, the tan one.
Very tanned.
Very tan. He was on Clash of Champions, and he was there last night. He's the one that got elbowed in the midsection by Aleister Black, as Aleister looked right at him as he elbowed him and then claimed, "Oh, I didn't see you." But
well, he does have that pirate look going. Maybe that had something to do with it.
And the contact lens he had in.
Maybe he's visually impaired at this point.
Well, who knows? But we know he doesn't have the socks like I do to help him out.
Definitely not.
No. A lackluster Raw, but as we can say, not even half-heartedly, it was better than last week. But again, not saying much.
It's like comparing stepping in a pile of dog shit to a pile of wet dog shit.
Well, it's still going to smell at the end of the night.
And it certainly did. It certainly did. This one's a little easier to get off the shoes, I guess, than the other.
You got that right. But, hopefully next week they could try to do something better and build it up.
They'll try. And
try and fail.
We'll see. More importantly, though, as I rip up my notes from Raw this week, we have a big week of programs here in Boston Wrestling. You want to talk about interactive programming at its best? Well, maybe even before you've listened to the Raw recap, Mr. USA Tony Atlas joined me for a special episode of Wrestling Insiders at Your House, where he shoots on Marty Jannetty's Facebook murder confession, and Tony talks about the abuse he faced as a child. It's a very interesting episode. It is available now once you hear this, if you missed the premiere at 9 o'clock. Also, Thursday night, 9 p.m., Party with Marty Wrestling Insiders. Marty Jannetty is back. Many fans have heard about the infamous WWE plane ride from hell from England back to the United States in 2002. Marty Jannetty shares a plane ride story from probably the year 1990 that went from San Francisco to Dallas overnight on a red eye. That puts that one to shame. You have to hear it to believe it. It is one of the most wild episodes we've had on the Marty Jannetty series, and that covers a lot of ground considering some of the stories that the Ultimate Warrior has shared, including last week's episode that is available now that was over the top in several other ways. But this plane ride story is some must-hear material. Friday night, after WWE wraps up another big night at the Thunderdome in Orlando with SmackDown on Fox, 10 p.m., head on over to the YouTube channel, baby. You want to talk about a Thunderdome? We've got a man with a dome of a different kind. John Cena Sr. back for a fabulous Friday. You never know what's holding down what's on his dome. This week,
the fabulous dome.
He pays tribute to Road Warrior Animal, and we discuss the Roman Reigns, Jey Uso dynamic. Plus, we'll have a TV show, podcast-style recaps of the week, and Sunday night, we'll be doing it live all over again for the
hopefully with less difficulties.
NXT TakeOver 31. We had a group of technical specialists here at the studio yesterday. It has been rewired from roof to underneath the building. That's how solid our foundation will be for Sunday night. So it is outstanding. We will have no technical problems. Zero.
I'm sure something will still happen. No,
well, I'm glad that you have so much confidence.
Well, I'm looking forward to Sunday more than, these main roster shows. These takeovers are actually good entertainment. I mean, even though I'll give them credit for Clash of Champions, which is probably their first good pay-per-view in months and months.
Time.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to Sunday night, even though this takeover card and takeover 30 were both, the cards were not that good and the matches aren't, nothing great, but compared to past takeovers, but
on paper,
yes, but looking forward to it more than the main roster shows.
I am,
and chatting with our good friends with our shows coming up this week.
Well, we love to do those live chats, fans. I have fun typing away. Matt is now, I've tried to keep him away from chatting during the live premiere. He takes up so much time, but he's in there now chatting. You weren't here for John Cena Sr.'s taping on Monday morning, but he said he is going to try and chime in on some of the live episode premiere chats. So if you see a little JC in there.
Well, I'll make sure I give him.
He's anxious to do a watch-along for the WWE Timeline episode he was on WWE Network right now, which features his son, John Cena, and Edge, which was one of the great feuds of the late 2000s.
Him getting slapped by Edge in his own house.
Yes.
Oh. Well,
and there, as you saw, there is an outtake from one of those episodes that we will not be airing, but we certainly had some laughs when he was here.
Yeah, and him rumored to be with Brock Lesnar, but
we do discuss that. We do discuss that. I don't want to spoil it, but we discuss a potential WrestleMania main event spoiler Friday night after SmackDown.
We'll find out after a fabulous Friday night SmackDown from the Thunderdome.
All right, wrestling fans, that's about it. Don't forget, if you are chatting away with us, a super chat always helps keep the lights on. The Patreon is so much fun. You get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk show programs each and every week, along with the Studio Shoot Interview DVD library, all while helping keep wrestling legends working. And, of course, the holiday season is coming. October is just about here. The jackets are going to be coming on. The shorts are going to be put away. And before you know it, it's going to be that holiday Christmas shopping time. eBay, we got the goods. Again, help keep the wrestling legends working as we lead into our 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive, which is so much fun. We're going to have some big announcements coming on that, as well as, unfortunately, we won't be able to have a live wrestling event this year, but we're going to do something online in the world of cyber that is going to be almost as much fun, where fans not only just in the Boston area but from around the country and around the world can partake. So we got some good stuff coming up to end what has been a hellacious year in and of itself in 2020, not to be confused with the Thunder.
No, not at all.
Not at all. All right, so for Matt Degnan and the Sox, we'll be back Thursday night with a recap of NXT and AEW. Again, if you missed Wrestling Insiders at Your House with Tony Atlas earlier tonight, check it out in the archives. Folks, until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy.